Hi everyone, in this video we're going to continue looking at soul and Motown rhythm guitar basics. This is part number 2 of a 5-part mini series. In this lesson we're going to look at chord voicings and we're going to look at the classic chord voicings used in soul and Motown guitar. Stay tuned and I'll show you how to do it. In this lesson then, we're going to look at chord voicings used in Motown guitar, but if you haven't done it already, click like to like the video, hit subscribe to subscribe to the channel, and click that alert bell so you don't miss any updates. If you want a PDF workbook with everything that I'm going to show you in this video, you'll see a link below in the description, so make sure you grab that. Right then, let's just get stuck in. Now this lesson is going to be based in the same key as we used in video number 1, and that was A major. And let's start talking about the chord voicings used in soul and Motown guitar. Now mainly, again, this is a generalization, this is not for every single soul and Motown song. Most of the time the guitarists are using smaller chords. What I mean by that is not a big thick 6-string chord, little voicings like this. Okay, small little voicings which are known as triad voicings, okay? A triad basically is 3 notes, a root, a third, and a fifth. In a major chord, we'd get the major third. In a minor chord, we get the minor third. So a major chord has a root, a major third, and fifth. A minor triad has a root, a minor third, and a fifth, okay? Again, I'm not going to go too deeply into the theory on that sort of stuff. I'm just going to be showing you the voicings, but that's the basis behind it. Major triad, root, major third, fifth. Minor triad, root, minor third, fifth. So, an easy way to look at some of these is to play. That's an A chord, but that's known as an E shape. Usually the first bar chord most people learn. Now there's a few different triads in that chord already. Mainly soul and Motown guitar, we're going to be using the thinnest 4 strings. So we're going to be using the E, the B, the G, and the D. We don't tend to play the thick ones very often. Normally in this style of music, there's quite a lot going on. There's brass, there's vocals, there's harmonies, drums, bass. So we're trying to just, find our place. And normally for guitar, we sit that kind of frequency range, okay? And it normally fits really, really nicely, which is a big part of this Motown sound. So if we go back to this chord, you have a triad on the top 3 strings, on the E, the B, and the G. Okay, so that's going to be one of the shapes. So if we were to see an A major chord, that would be what we play. Now that is a triad inversion, but when I see that, as I'm using this functionally, I'll just see this chord shape and know I can play the top 3 strings, the E, the B, and the G. So I'd play along with the rhythms as we did in video 1, 1, 2, 3, with just those 3 strings. Alternatively, we could play the B, the G, and the D from this chord, like this. That also works as well, and that's another version of an A major triad. Now, I'm not going to talk about the inversions, what they are. I'm just literally showing you the chords in this video. Most of the time when I play Motown, I do tend to stick to top 3 strings. I just find it fits a bit more, it's more in keeping with the style than the D, the G, and the B. Not for every song, but just generally I find it just pokes out a little bit more because just the nature of the thickness of the strings, they're a little bit brighter, so normally pokes through the mix a little bit more. So I normally will be playing these sort of shapes. Okay, so that sort of works around that bar chord. We can do the same thing for this bar chord. Now that's a D major, known as our A shape. But what we can do, we can take the top 3 strings, or the B, the G, and the D. So there's 2 triads here, 2 major triads. Now again, in my head, I'm just seeing this shape, so I'm always relating it to that chord. Just makes it a little bit easier if you're new to this sort of stuff and you don't know all your triads already, okay? So there's D major, coming from that chord voicing. Back to A. There's the 2 different versions. D major. Okay, so the first set are just coming from this chord. The second set are coming from this chord. Now there are other ways to look at these triads where you kind of relate everything to different strings and different roots and just learn them independently. However, for this style of music, just to get on board with this quickly, this is the easiest way to do them. So the last set of major triads then will be coming from this shape. Now this is known as our C-shaped chord, but that is an E major, and we just do the same thing. We play the top 3 strings, the B, the G, and the D. There's an E major, sounds the same. Or we take the B, the G, and the D from this shape. Okay, so option 1, option 2, option 1, option 2. Okay, so back to our A ones, which were based off this E shape. So option 1, option 2. Back to our D major, now that's called an A shape, option 1, 2. And then coming from this shape, that's an E major, but that's called a C shape, option 1, option 2. Now I've gone through that super quickly. If you don't know those chord shapes already, like I said, grab that workbook. Everything is explained in there as well. I'm just trying to get through these videos pretty quickly so you can kind of just pick stuff up. Now, of course, you don't need to know all of them. You can just maybe pick one you like and just move them around. So if I was doing A, D, and E, as I did in the first video, you could maybe just think, well, I like this shape for A. I know that because I know that is my root, the one at the top. There's my A, there's my D, and there's my E. So you might just go, okay, that's the voicings I'm going to use, and I'm happy with those. Or alternatively, you might do the same for ones from this shape. It's whatever is the easiest for you. Now, often, and most of the time when playing chords through a sequence, I do try to keep the voicings as close to each other as I can. However, if you're new to this and you need to move around, that's absolutely fine as well. Just do whatever works for you. Okay, so that's major chords in a nutshell, very quickly. Then all you would do if you want the minor voicings, you do exactly the same thing with minor chords. You take your big shapes, so you take a minor shape like this, and then you just take the E, the B, and the G. That's option 1. And then we take the B, the G, and the D, and there's option 2 for that shape. So that's A minor. Then we do the same for this shape. So this is a D minor. We take the top 3 strings, the E, the B, and the G, or the B, the G, and the D. There's 2 different options there. Now the C shape's a bit more of an awkward one. If I was to play an E minor, it would look like this. And that also can come from the top of the D shape as well. It's whichever you prefer to look at. There's an E note, so there's that one. And that's the one straight out of that C shape E minor. Really awkward chord. Not many people tend to use that very much, but it's great for this sort of style music. So there's option 1 and option 2. Knowing my E root is there. Normally on minor chords, if I'm completely honest, I will just stick to the ones from this shape and that shape. So if you're looking at that third one I just did, that C shape chord, and you're going, well, I don't want to play that, don't worry too much about it. You can normally get through most things just knowing these 2 shapes and just taking the top 3 strings, or the B, the G, and the D from them. So I've gone through all that pretty quickly. As I said, everything's written out in the workbook as well, just because I want to get through these videos and not make them too long. But essentially all we're doing is we're taking larger bar chords and then we're just playing 3 strings. So we're taking a big shape and we're just going to take the E, the B, and the G, or the B, the G, and the D, and that's it. And that'll work for all the chord shapes that you know. So let me just play along with the backing track then, as I did in the last video. The same backing track, but I'm just going to use these shapes. Now what I'm going to do is for the A chord, I'm going to play this one. For the D chord, I'll play this one. And then for the E chord, I'll either play that one or that one. Okay, so A, D, E. Let me do the backing track. It all sounds like this. Okay, so to my ears, that sounds a lot more Motown using those chords rather than the big chords as we did in the first video where I just showed you the rhythms. Now, there was a lot of information in that video, but as I said, essentially all we're doing is we're taking our thicker bar chords or big bar chords and we're just breaking them apart, and we're just going to use groups of strings, 3 strings at a time. And when I did with the backing track then the second time round, I did this for A, D, and just moved the E up 2 frets, and it sounds great. So as much as, yes, as I said, I tried to keep all the shapes and all the chord voicings close to each other, it sounds okay as well when you move up. So if you only know this bar chord and you need to move it around like this for your inversion, so A, D, and E like that, that's absolutely fine. It's whatever you need to do to kind of get through this at the moment. That's just kind of showing you basically in Motown we're going to be using triad chords rather than big thick bar chords or power chords or anything else. And most of the time as well, we're just going to be doing simple triad, major or minor inversions, okay? So quick summary then, really quickly, quick recap of everything. We looked at triad chord inversions. Triad is a 3-note chord, and they form the foundation of most of the other chords that we play on the guitar, certainly the major and minor ones. A major triad is a root, major, third and fifth. A minor triad is a root, minor, third and fifth. And what we've done to find these chord voicings, rather than learning a bunch of new chords and a different way of looking stuff, we've simply taken information that we already know, bar chords, and just gone, right, rather than playing all of that chord, I'm going to play either that, which is the E, the B and the G, or that, which is the B, the G and the D. And it literally is that simple. Hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, click like to like the video, hit subscribe to subscribe to the channel, and click that alert bell so you don't miss any updates. If you want the PDF workbook with all of the stuff I've talked about in the video written out, and the backing track as well, I'll throw that in too. You'll see a link below in the description, so make sure you grab that. If you want more lessons and courses from myself, come and check out my guitar school, www.fretlix.com. Loads of great courses, lessons, masterclasses, free bonus content. Come and take a look. Hope you enjoyed that video, and I'll see you again soon.